What I'm about to reveal will shatter everything you think you know about how reality works. Right now, as you're watching this, you're not just observing your life, you're literally creating it. Every single moment of conscious attention you give to something is collapsing infinite possibilities into one concrete experience. And most people have no idea they're doing this. Scientists have discovered something that changes everything about manifestation and the law of attraction. It's called the observer effect, and it proves that consciousness doesn't just influence reality, it determines what becomes real in the first place. The moment you truly understand this principle, you'll never again feel like a victim of circumstances, because you'll realize you've been the director of this entire cosmic movie all along. But here's what nobody talks about. This isn't just happening when you're trying to manifest something specific. It's happening continuously, 24 hours a day, through every thought you think and every emotion you feel. Which means that right now, through the simple act of where you're placing your focus, you're actively choosing which version of your future becomes real. The discovery that changed everything happened in one of the most famous experiments in scientific history. When researchers studied subatomic particles moving through space, something impossible occurred. These particles existed as waves of pure possibility, simultaneously in multiple states, until the moment a conscious observer looked at them. The instant someone focused their attention on these particles, the wave of infinite potential immediately collapsed into one specific particle with a definite location and properties. The implications of this discovery are staggering. It means that consciousness itself is the force that transforms possibility into reality. Not effort, not struggle, not even action, but conscious observation. As quantum physicist Amit Goswami puts it, consciousness is the foundation of reality, not the reverse. This means the same principle that collapses quantum possibilities in a lab is operating in your life every single moment. Think about this for a moment. There are infinite possible timelines of your life existing simultaneously in what physicists call the field of pure potential. There's a timeline where you're living your dream life, another where you're stuck exactly where you are now, and countless variations between them. Your attention is the mechanism that determines which one of these possibilities becomes your actual experience. Every time you wake up and focus on your bills, you're selecting financial struggle from the infinite menu of possibilities. Every time you worry about your health, you're choosing timelines of illness and limitation. Every time you replay past disappointments, you're voting for more experiences that match those patterns. You're not just thinking about these things, you're literally bringing them into being through focused attention. But what most people don't realize is that this process doesn't just respond to your conscious thoughts. It responds to the total frequency of your consciousness, which includes your unconscious patterns and emotional baseline. This is why someone can spend 20 minutes visualizing abundance, but still live in poverty. Their conscious mind might be selecting prosperity, but their unconscious patterns are choosing lack for the other 23 hours and 40 minutes of the day. Here's where it gets fascinating, and this is something that will completely change how you approach every challenge in your life. The field responds to whatever signal is strongest and most consistent. If your unconscious programming is running stories of unworthiness and fear, that's the reality that gets selected, regardless of what you're consciously trying to manifest. This explains why manifestation sometimes feels impossible. You're fighting against years of unconscious selection patterns that have been shaping your reality without your awareness. But wait, before I show you how to override these unconscious patterns, there's something even more shocking about this process that most people never discover. Something that will completely revolutionize how you think about time itself and why some people manifest instantly while others wait years for results. Let me give you a practical example that demonstrates just how precise this mechanism is. Imagine two people who both lose their job on the same day. Person A immediately begins focusing on disaster, financial fears, rejection, scarcity. They emotionally engage with thoughts like, "Why does this always happen to me?" Person B focuses on opportunity, new possibilities, growth, expansion. They think, "This is redirecting me towards something greater." Same external event, completely different realities being created. The field doesn't judge which focus is better or worse. It simply responds with perfect precision to whatever is being consistently observed with emotional intensity. This is why some people seem to effortlessly attract opportunities, while others struggle despite working incredibly hard. It's not about worthiness or luck. It's about which timeline they're unconsciously selecting through their habitual patterns of attention. Now here's something that might sound crazy at first, but stick with me, because this will blow your mind. What if I told you that person B in that example wasn't just thinking positive thoughts? What if they were actually accessing a parallel version of reality where that job loss was the best thing that ever happened to them? We'll dive deeper into this mind-bending concept in just a moment. Now here's what changes everything, about how you approach creating the life you want, and this insight alone could save you years of frustration. Instead of just focusing on what you desire for a few minutes each day, you need to become aware of what you're unconsciously selecting throughout every moment. You need to catch yourself in the act of choosing unwanted timelines and learn to redirect your attention toward possibilities that align with your highest vision. But there's a deeper layer that most people miss entirely, and understanding this will explain why some manifestations happen instantly, while others take years or never happen at all. True manifestation power comes from achieving what physicists call coherence, a state where your thoughts, emotions, and unconscious beliefs are all aligned toward the same outcome. When you have coherence, your entire being is selecting the same reality. When you lack coherence, you get mixed results because different parts of your consciousness are choosing contradictory timelines. Think of coherence like tuning a radio station. When you're perfectly tuned, you get clear, strong reception. When you're slightly off, you get static and interference. Most people live in a constant state of incoherence without realizing it. They consciously want love, but unconsciously believe they're unworthy. They desire abundance, but emotionally vibrate with scarcity. They visualize success, but unconsciously expect failure. The field receives these mixed signals and responds accordingly. A little progress here, a setback there, just enough to keep hope alive, but not enough to create real transformation. Here's something that will make you laugh, or maybe cry when you realize how simple this actually is. Imagine your consciousness as a TV remote control and reality as a giant television with infinite channels. Most people are unconsciously channel surfing between the struggle channel, the fear channel, and the limitation channel, wondering why they keep getting the same programming. But what happens when you deliberately tune into the abundance channel and leave it there? Achieving coherence requires developing what I call quantum self-awareness, the ability to observe not just your conscious thoughts, but the entire spectrum of your inner experience. Your emotional undertones, your unconscious beliefs, your energetic state, and the quality of your attention itself. When you develop this level of awareness, you can begin to align all aspects of your consciousness toward a single desired outcome. Here's what most people don't understand about this process, and this realization will free you from years of struggle and effort. You don't need perfect thoughts or constant positivity. You need consistency and alignment. You don't need to eliminate every limiting thought from your mind. You just need to become more committed to selecting your desired reality than you are to choosing your current limitations. The field responds to your dominant frequency, not your occasional focus. If you spend 5 minutes each morning visualizing your goals, but 23 hours and 55 minutes focusing on your problems, the problems win. But if you can gradually shift the balance, spending more of your conscious attention on possibilities rather than limitations, the field begins to reflect this new pattern back to you through improved circumstances. This is where the practice becomes truly transformational, and I'm going to share with you the exact method that quantum physicists use to maintain coherent observation. You begin monitoring your own consciousness like a sacred navigation system. You catch yourself in the act of choosing limitation and gently redirect your attention toward possibility. You become aware of your emotional baseline and consciously choose to elevate it. You stop being a victim of unconscious patterns and become the conscious director of your own experience. But hold on, there's something I need to share with you that's going to sound absolutely impossible until you understand the science behind it. What if I told you that the version of yourself who already has everything you want isn't in the future at all, but exists right now in a parallel timeline? And what if accessing that timeline was as simple as changing the channel of your consciousness? But there's something even more profound happening here that will revolutionize your entire understanding of your place in the universe. When you truly grasp this principle, you realize that reality isn't something that exists independently of your consciousness. The quantum field that underlies all existence is pure conscious potential, waiting for your attention to give it form and meaning. You're not separate from this field. You are this field, awakening to its own creative nature. This means your consciousness isn't limited by your physical brain or confined to your personal boundaries. Consciousness is non-local, which means your awareness can influence realities across distance and even before things manifest in physical form. You don't need physical proximity to affect change. You need focused presence. You don't need external permission to create transformation. You need unwavering inner certainty. When you recognize this truth, everything about your relationship with reality shifts dramatically. You stop trying to manipulate external circumstances and start cultivating your internal state. You stop waiting for proof that your desires are possible and start treating them as already real. You stop being reactive and become creative. Stop being desperate and become magnetic. Picture this. You're like a master chef in the kitchen of reality, but instead of ingredients, you're working with possibilities. Most people are frantically throwing random ingredients together, wondering why their meal tastes terrible. But when you understand the recipe of consciousness, you can create any flavor of experience you desire. The secret ingredient? Sustained, coherent attention. The external world you perceive isn't the source of your internal experience. It's the mirror reflection of it. And this reflection process begins long before any physical action or event takes place. Your attention patterns are constantly sending instructions to the quantum field about what to manifest next. Every moment of focused awareness is like casting a vote in the cosmic election of your reality. This is why your emotional state is so crucial to this entire process, and understanding this will explain why some people manifest easily while others struggle endlessly. The field doesn't just respond to your thoughts, it responds to the feeling tone behind your thoughts. Two people can think the exact same thought, but if one is feeling fear and the other is feeling excitement, they'll get completely different results. The field reads energy, not words. It responds to your vibrational signature, not your verbal declarations. Your body responds to how you observe it. If you consistently view it as weak, sick, or aging, those patterns become your physical reality. If you observe it as strong, healthy, and vital, you activate cellular processes that support those qualities. Money flows according to how you perceive your relationship with abundance. If you observe money as scarce and hard to come by, you create experiences that confirm this observation. If you observe abundance as your natural state, opportunities for financial growth begin appearing in your experience. Relationships respond to your observation patterns as well, and this is where the principle becomes almost magical in its precision. If you consistently view people as untrustworthy, unreliable, or selfish, you'll keep attracting experiences that confirm this belief. But when you begin observing others as fundamentally good, capable of growth, and deserving of love, you literally call forth different aspects of their nature through your observation. The same people might even begin showing up differently in your life because you're observing different possibilities in them. But here's something that's going to make you question everything you thought you knew about human relationships. What if the difficult people in your life aren't there to teach you lessons or challenge you, but are simply mirrors, reflecting back the exact frequency you've been unconsciously broadcasting? And what happens when you change that frequency? Career opportunities appear based on how you observe the world around you. If you view the world as competitive and limited, you'll experience struggle and scarcity in your professional life. If you observe the world as abundant and supportive, you'll find doors opening that you never even knew existed. Your observation doesn't just affect your perception of opportunities, it affects which opportunities actually show up in your reality. But here's one of the most powerful aspects of this principle, and this is where most people completely miss the mark. You have the ability to observe possibilities that don't yet exist in physical form, and literally bring them into being through sustained attention. This isn't daydreaming or fantasy. This is the conscious application of quantum mechanics to the art of reality creation. When you observe your future self as if they already exist, when you feel their emotional state as if it's your current reality, when you embody their frequency as if you've already become them, you begin collapsing that timeline into manifestation. You're not pretending or being delusional. You're using the same mechanism that creates all of reality to consciously choose which version of yourself becomes real. Here's where things get really wild, and this is the part that separates the amateurs from the masters. What if I told you that time isn't linear when it comes to consciousness? What if past, present, and future are just different rooms in the same house, and you can walk between them at will? Stay with me, because this changes everything about how quickly you can transform your life. But here's the key that most people miss, and this understanding will save you from years of frustration and failed attempts. This process isn't about forcing or trying to make something happen. It's about becoming so aligned with your desired reality that it has no choice but to manifest through you. When your observation becomes coherent and consistent, when your entire being is broadcasting the same frequency, circumstances rearrange themselves to match your energetic signature. This is why effort and struggle often work against manifestation, and why relaxation and trust accelerate it. When you're trying hard to make something happen, you're usually observing from a place of lack, the feeling that you don't already have what you want. This observation of lack becomes the instruction you're giving to the field, which responds by maintaining the experience of not having what you desire. The most powerful state for conscious creation is what quantum researchers call relaxed certainty. This is when you observe your desired reality with complete confidence that it's already yours, combined with a relaxed detachment from when or how it will appear in physical form. You're not anxious about timing, because you know it's already real in the quantum realm. You're not worried about the how, because you trust the field's intelligence to orchestrate the perfect sequence of events. Think of it like ordering food at a restaurant. Once you place your order, you don't go into the kitchen and try to cook it yourself. You don't worry about exactly how the chef will prepare it. You simply relax and trust that your order is being prepared. The quantum field works the same way. Once you place your order through coherent observation, you can relax and trust the process. In this state, you become like a tuning fork that vibrates at the frequency of your desired reality. And because the field is responsive to frequency, everything in your environment begins resonating with that same vibration. People, opportunities, resources, and circumstances that match your new frequency start appearing in your experience, while things that don't match begin falling away naturally. Most people scatter their observation energy across dozens of different possibilities, wondering why nothing manifests clearly. But when you focus your consciousness like a laser beam on one specific timeline, maintaining that focus with emotional coherence and unwavering faith, the field has no choice but to respond. The wave function collapses, potential becomes actual, and your desired reality materializes in your physical experience. But there's still one more layer to this understanding that will transform how you approach this principle, and this is perhaps the most profound insight of all. The field isn't just responding to what you observe about your future, it's responding to what you observe about yourself in this moment. Your identity, who you believe yourself to be right now, is the foundation that determines which timelines are accessible to you. If you observe yourself as someone who struggles with money, the field can only deliver experiences that match that identity. If you observe yourself as someone who is naturally abundant, completely different possibilities become available. Your identity acts like a filter that determines which realities you can access through conscious observation. But here's something that's going to completely blow your mind about identity and why most people struggle with lasting change. What if your current identity isn't who you really are, but just a character you've been playing for so long that you forgot it was a role? And what happens when you remember that you can choose to play any character you want? This is why lasting transformation requires what I call quantum identity shifting. You need to begin observing yourself as the person who already has what you desire. Not someone who wants it or hopes to get it, but someone who already embodies that reality. When your identity shifts at the quantum level, your entire reality shifts to match. Here's a profound realization that changes everything about how you view yourself and your potential. The version of yourself that has everything you desire already exists in the quantum field. They're not a future possibility. They're a present reality in a parallel timeline. This principle is simply the mechanism by which you access that timeline and make it your physical experience. This means you're not trying to become someone new. You're remembering who you already are in your highest timeline. You're not creating something from nothing. You're choosing which of your infinite selves becomes your primary reality. This isn't magic. It's the technology of consciousness that allows you to navigate between different versions of yourself and different versions of your world. When you understand this deeply, you realize that every moment is an opportunity to choose which version of yourself you're going to observe into existence. Every thought, every emotion, every moment of attention is a quantum choice point where you can either reinforce your current identity or activate a new one. Now I want to take you through a practical exercise that will demonstrate the power of conscious observation in real time. This isn't just theory. This is a technique that quantum researchers use to create coherent states of consciousness. You don't need to pause or close your eyes. Simply allow your awareness to follow my instructions while continuing to listen. Right now, become aware of your breathing without changing it. Simply observe the natural rhythm of your breath. Notice how this simple act of observation immediately creates a sense of presence and calm. This is the observer effect in action, your consciousness affecting your physical state through pure attention. Now, while maintaining this awareness of your breath, I want you to observe a version of yourself that already has everything you desire. Don't try to visualize or imagine. Simply observe this version of yourself as if they're sitting right there next to you. Feel their confidence, their peace, their certainty. Notice how they carry themselves, how they breathe, how they exist in the world. As you observe this version of yourself, allow yourself to feel what they feel. Not as a future possibility, but as a present reality. Feel their emotional state as if it's your emotional state right now. Feel their sense of fulfillment, their gratitude, their joy. This isn't pretending. This is conscious observation of a quantum possibility that exists right now. Continue to breathe naturally while maintaining this observation. Notice how your body begins to resonate with this frequency. Notice how your entire nervous system starts to align with this version of yourself. This is coherence happening in real time. Your thoughts, emotions, and physical state all aligning toward the same reality. Now, from this coherent state, make a quantum declaration, not out loud, but internally. Declare that this version of yourself is not a future possibility, but your present identity. Feel the truth of this declaration in every cell of your body. Feel yourself stepping into this identity completely, not as someone trying to become them, but as someone remembering who they already are. Take one more conscious breath and slowly return your attention to my voice, but maintain the feeling state you've just activated. Notice how different you feel compared to when we started. This shift in your internal state has already begun broadcasting a new signal to the quantum field. Your reality is already beginning to reorganize itself to match this new frequency. This exercise demonstrates the fundamental principle we've been exploring. Your consciousness has the power to access different versions of reality through pure observation. The version of yourself you just connected with isn't a fantasy. It's a quantum possibility that becomes more real every time you observe it with coherent attention. But here's what makes this practice truly transformational, and this is the secret that separates those who successfully apply these principles from those who struggle. The key is not to return to your old patterns of observation after this experience. The key is to maintain this new frequency throughout your day, catching yourself when you slip back into old identity patterns and gently redirecting your attention back to this elevated version of yourself. Every time you remember to observe yourself as this empowered version, you're casting a vote for that reality to become your primary experience. Every time you catch yourself observing limitation and redirect toward possibility, you're strengthening your quantum coherence. Every time you choose to see yourself and your world through the lens of this elevated identity, you're collapsing that timeline into manifestation. But here's something that most teachers of manifestation will never tell you, because it sounds too simple to be true. The secret to permanent transformation isn't about doing more practices or learning more techniques. It's about forgetting to be the old version of yourself. When you become so absorbed in being the new you that you literally forget to be limited, that's when miracles become normal. The field is infinitely responsive and endlessly patient. It doesn't judge your past choices or limit your future possibilities. It simply responds to whatever you're observing right now with perfect accuracy. This means that no matter what your current circumstances look like, no matter what patterns you've been running for years or decades, you can begin observing a new reality in this very moment. This is perhaps the most liberating truth you could ever discover. Your past doesn't determine your future. Your current circumstances don't limit your possibilities. Your background, your education, your family history, your previous failures, none of these things have any power over what you can create through conscious observation. The only thing that matters is what you're choosing to observe right now. Right now, as you're absorbing this understanding, you have the opportunity to make a quantum choice. You can continue observing yourself as someone who is learning about these principles, or you can begin observing yourself as someone who has mastered them. You can view yourself as someone trying to understand consciousness, or as someone who is consciousness, awakening to your own creative nature. This shift in observation, this quantum identity upgrade, is available to you right now. Not tomorrow, not after months of practice, but in this very moment. Because this principle doesn't operate in linear time. It operates in the eternal now, where all possibilities exist simultaneously, waiting for your conscious choice to collapse them into experience. But there's an even deeper level to this understanding that will completely transform how you navigate challenges and obstacles in your life. When you truly comprehend the observer effect, you realize that every experience, including the difficult ones, is feedback about your current observation patterns. Instead of seeing problems as evidence that the principle doesn't work, you begin to see them as precise information about what you've been unconsciously observing. If you're experiencing financial struggle, it's feedback that somewhere in your consciousness, you're observing scarcity more consistently than abundance. If you're experiencing relationship difficulties, it's information that you're observing conflict or separation more than love and connection. If you're experiencing health challenges, it's feedback that you're observing limitation more than vitality. This perspective completely transforms your relationship with challenges. Instead of feeling victimized by difficult experiences, you begin to see them as valuable data about your unconscious observation patterns. Every problem becomes a teacher, showing you exactly where your consciousness needs to be redirected. Here's a perspective that will completely change how you handle stress and anxiety. What if every challenging situation in your life is actually the universe's way of asking you a question? Are you going to observe this from fear or from love? Are you going to choose the timeline of struggle or the timeline of growth? Every challenge becomes a pop quiz in conscious observation. This is what I call quantum feedback, the universe's way of showing you precisely what you've been creating through your observation patterns. Once you understand this, you stop fighting against your circumstances and start using them as a navigation system to guide you toward more coherent observation. The most successful people who apply these principles have learned to treat their entire life as a biofeedback system. They use every experience, positive or negative, as information about their current frequency. When something wonderful happens, they ask themselves, what was I observing consistently that created this experience? When something challenging occurs, they ask, what pattern was I unconsciously running that attracted this feedback? This level of quantum self-awareness is what separates masters from beginners. Masters don't just observe their desired reality during meditation or visualization sessions. They maintain conscious awareness of their observation patterns throughout their entire day, constantly course-correcting to stay aligned with their intended frequency. They've learned to catch themselves in micro moments of limitation and redirect toward possibility. They notice when they're observing from fear and consciously shift to love. They become aware when they're focusing on lack and immediately redirect to abundance. This isn't about perfection. It's about conscious participation in the creation of their reality. But perhaps the most profound aspect of mastering this principle is what happens to your relationship with time itself. When you truly understand that all possibilities exist simultaneously in the quantum field, you realize that your desired reality isn't somewhere in the future waiting for you to reach it. It exists right now in this moment, as accessible as any other possibility. This understanding collapses the illusion of linear manifestation. You stop thinking in terms of someday I'll have, and start thinking in terms of I am choosing to experience. You stop waiting for your reality to change and start choosing which reality to experience. You stop hoping for a better future and start accessing a better now. Time becomes fluid when you operate from this level of consciousness. Manifestations that might have taken years can happen in weeks or days because you're no longer bound by linear thinking. You're accessing the timeless realm where all possibilities coexist, and from that realm, you're selecting which timeline to make your primary experience. But here's the ultimate secret that will make everything click into place. What if I told you that the reason some people seem to have all the luck, all the opportunities, all the synchronicities, isn't because they're special or chosen. It's because they've learned to live in the timeline where those things are normal. They're not trying to attract good things, they're simply residing in the reality where good things are abundant. The greatest discovery you can make is that you are not separate from the quantum field. You are not outside of reality looking in, trying to influence it from a distance. You are reality itself, experiencing the joy of conscious creation through the mechanism of observation. When you truly realize this, when you embody this understanding completely, you become unstoppable. Not because you can force things to happen, but because you realize you are the very force through which all things happen. You are not using the observer effect. You are the observer effect. You are not applying quantum principles. You are the quantum principle expressing itself through individualized consciousness. This is the ultimate truth about this principle. You're not just using it to create a better life. You are it. You are the conscious observer that is dreaming this entire reality into existence. And once you remember this completely, there are no limits to what you can observe into being. Every moment becomes an opportunity for conscious creation. Every breath becomes a choice point between limitation and possibility. Every thought becomes a vote in the quantum election of your reality. Every emotion becomes a signal that the field responds to with mathematical precision. When you live from this level of awareness, life becomes a magnificent dance of conscious creation. You're no longer a victim of circumstances because you understand that circumstances are simply crystallized observation patterns. You're no longer waiting for luck or hoping for miracles because you realize that you are the miracle, operating through the technology of consciousness to create your experience moment by moment. The moment you recognize yourself as the conscious creator of your reality, everything changes. Not gradually, not eventually, but immediately. The field is already responding to this new level of awareness, already rearranging itself to match your elevated understanding. Your transformation has already begun, but there's one final layer to this understanding that will anchor everything we've explored into practical reality. The master of conscious observation learns to live in what I call the quantum present, a state where you're simultaneously aware of your current experience and consciously selecting your next reality. You're not dissociating from the present moment, but you're also not trapped by it. In the quantum present, you can acknowledge your current circumstances without being limited by them. You can feel grateful for where you are while simultaneously observing where you're going. You can be present with what is while choosing what becomes. This is the ultimate mastery, living in the sweet spot between acceptance and creation, between being and becoming. From this state, manifestation becomes effortless because you're no longer fighting against reality. You're collaborating with it. You're not trying to escape your current experience. You're using it as a launching pad for conscious creation. You're not denying what is. You're choosing what becomes. This is where the observer effect becomes not just a principle you apply, but a way of being that permeates every aspect of your existence. You become a living demonstration of conscious creation, a walking example of what's possible when someone fully awakens to their role as the observer and creator of reality. If this understanding is resonating with you, If you can feel the truth of these principles awakening something deep within your consciousness, I want you to make a declaration of quantum mastery right now in the comments below. Write simply, "I am the conscious observer of my reality." Let this declaration serve as your public commitment to step into this new level of awareness. Your announcement to the universe that you're ready to take full responsibility for your creative power. Because the moment you make this declaration with genuine understanding and commitment, you activate a quantum shift that ripples through every aspect of your existence. The field recognizes your awakening and begins orchestrating circumstances that match your new level of consciousness. Your life becomes a canvas for conscious creation, a masterpiece painted with the brush of quantum observation. You are not a victim of reality. You are its conscious creator. You are not at the mercy of circumstances. You are the author of circumstances. You are not hoping for a miracle. You are the miracle expressing itself through the infinite creativity of awakened consciousness. Remember this truth, embody this understanding, and watch as your entire world transforms to reflect the magnificence of who you really are.